Hi booktube, and welcome back to my channel. Marilyn Maya, the baby boomer booktuber, and tomorrow I'm leaving on a 3-week trip, and I wanted to have a little chat with you about the books that I've read, or I should say the one book that I've read, and a book that I read last month that I had to think about before I talked about it. The book that I'm in the last part of it. It's Full Dark House by Christopher Fowler. And this is the first of the Brian and May Mysteries, the Peculiar Crime Unit. And if you see my bookmark, I'm at the end. And usually when I'm at the end like this, it's really hard for me to leave a bookmark right here. But this tells you that this book was not a success for me. I love the characters, I love the characterization, but the book was, it was overloaded. Yeah. And I felt that the two timelines, it opens with Brian being blown up, so it's not a spoiler. And he's blown up in an explosion, and it has something to do with their first case, which is Full Dark House. And he has just met his partner May. They're kind of getting along, kind of not, and there's other characters that are very interesting. However, this book is full of Greek mythology, which I'm not that familiar with, and with the two timelines, I wasn't sure at times if we were in the present or back in the Blitz timeline. However, you know, I like the characters so much that even though I don't care who did it, I still am going to try another of this series because I really love the characters that much. But what I wanted to talk to you about was a book I read last month, which I couldn't talk about because I was processing it in my mind. And it'll be here, and it's The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. How can I describe this book? It's not an easy book to describe. I know that I almost DNF'd it before I was even 1/3 the way in the book, because it was too preposterous, the scenario for me. There was a woman named Tuki who had she's an indigenous woman from Minnesota who had transported a dead body over state lines who happened to be full of drugs. And I said, this could never happen, and I was saying I had never read Louise Erdrich before. So yeah, it didn't start out good, and for me it didn't end good, but yet the book stayed with me for various reasons that I'm going to explain or try to explain, because I'm still processing my feelings toward this book. And what's the plot? The plot is, well, it begins with Tuki going to jail for a long time for that crime. And she comes out and she starts working in a bookstore. Now, Louise Erdrich owns a bookstore in Minnesota called Birch Bark Books that I'm happy I am going to go to, because part of my trip is to the Twin Cities where my children live, and I persuaded them to take me to this bookstore because I want to see where all this took place. Now, there's a ghost in this book. I don't like ghosts-filled books, yet this ghost didn't bother me. She bothered Tuki a lot, but we find out at the end why, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. So I don't think many authors could put in so much in one book and still be semi-successful. I say semi because the end of the book goes way too much into reality for a lot of people, for me especially, with COVID, with the George Floyd murder, and with a lot of unhappiness that is too real for me. But let me first say that one reason that this book spoke to me in the middle, which was worth it reading, is because first of all, I lived in Minnesota for 5 years. I graduated college there, my children are there. I thought I knew a lot about Minnesota, but I didn't know a lot about the indigenous experience, even though being half Puerto Rican, I do have indigenous DNA. So I was always interested in what we used to call American Indian or indigenous blood. In Puerto Rican's case, it's Taino Indian from the Caribbean, which was a subset of the Arawaks tribe that was basically killed off in various ways. So I knew a little bit about the Caribbean Indian experience or the Caribbean indigenous experience, but not too much about the Minnesota Ojibwe Indian experience that Louise Erdrich belongs to. But I don't know if you believe in, I was talking about another book. There's a book, Rescue of Memory, and the Memory Palace, where we have the intergenerational traumas from people we didn't even know, but who are part of our DNA. And yeah, reading that book, I felt it. And there's a lot in here. There's a lot about the ghosts. There's a lot about books and bookstores, because Louise Erdrich owns a bookstore. There's a lot about the culture of and the experience and the past of what indigenous people from Minnesota suffered because of the settlers. And like I said, there's a lot going on in this book. But what I wanted to share with you was some quotes from the book that stayed with me. Specifically the quotes about Minnesota that I couldn't really find because I don't have the book with me right now. That I found one, but some quotes that touched me. She's a poet, Louise Erdrich, and when poets write books, usually they're very succinct. This case it wasn't, but still there was enough in here to keep me interested until the end. So let me just read you some quotes that touched me personally in the book. I've taken a pink eraser to my childhood and blurred the pain. That was one. I thought that was very poetic. You can't get over things you do to other people as easily as you get over things they do to you. Watching him closely after he paid for the books and took the package into his hands, I saw his pupils dilate the way a diner's do when food is brought to the table. Asema, you're forgetting. A people who see themselves primarily as victims are doomed. And we're not doomed, are we? And then she's talking about her bedside table. Alongside my bed, there is always a lazy stack and a hard stack. And this one really touched me. Everyone seems to have within themselves a collection of poems. And there was a lot of setting of Minnesota. The cold was deeper, the dark blacker, the hard air reassuringly Minnesota. And unless you've lived there, you can understand. I don't know, you know how cold Minnesota is, and it's cold now. So what I didn't like about the book is how close we get to the riots and how it started, the protests, and the COVID-19 pandemic. And I just felt it was too early to go into that. So I can say that I want to read further, but I'm going to give this book 4 stars. I was originally going to give it 3, and then as I thought about it, I said, this is more like a 4.5-star book. And I do think it will win the Women's short list. I think it should win the short list. Well, that's not many books I'm talking about, but on my trip, I'm not bringing any books. I'm bringing my Kindle. And I'm already reading some books. I'm trying to keep away from reading too many books, or else I don't have a lot of books on my Kindle. But one book I'm reading is from Anna Quindlen, and it's called Still Life with Breadcrumbs. And I'm really enjoying it. It's about a Jewish American woman who moves to the country after she was a famous photographer, and she doesn't have any money. Not having any money like she's on food stamp kind of poor, but she's having a hard time paying her bills, and she's getting into this country life where I'm not sure where it is, but it might be even in New York, because I think she might be upstate New York, which is interesting to me. I like the way Anna Quindlen is writing this book, and I'm going to finish it. It's not a perfect book. Sometimes she changes the point of view characters a lot, and I'm not crazy about that. I don't like to use the word crazy. I'm not a fan of that, let's put it that way. Then on my Kindle, I'm reading which I think is a self-published book, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's The First Time We Saw Paris, and it's from a British point of view, someone who's taking the ferry, maybe in the 90s, but it's funny. It has a funny it has a funny voice so far. I haven't really started it. I mean, I started it, but I haven't really went into it. And I lost my place. Let me see what else I'm doing. Okay, so then I told you about, I'm going to read the complete Map and Lucia books by B.C. Now, I can't even see it with my burger. I'll have the correct name down in the show notes. But so far, I'm not really loving it, and this was a favorite of many people that I admire, but still, I'm giving it a chance. What else do I have? I have a book that Kevi from Say Kevi recommended to me. This Time Is For Me by Alexandra Billings. And now I'm not sure, I think she's a trans woman, and she's an actress or some kind of a performer, but I'm looking forward to, I read 14% already. So I've read quite a few of the beginnings of these books. I have the Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler that I haven't started. I have The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to read all of these books. I have Heart of Darkness. I have one that I keep on, Cold as Hell by the Norwegian mystery writer. And I'm not even, I tried to say it the last time, and I don't think I'm going to try again. Sugerdottir. But I said it in my last video. I also have an E.M. Delafield book. And I'm trying to see what this is. And I've got to 1% of this book, so that's not too good. Oh, Diary of a Provincial Lady. So I have enough to read on my trip. That's basically, so this is sort of, I would say, my travel haul and my April, not much of a wrap-up. But I wanted to share with you, especially about the sentence, because the book did touch me. And I don't know if I'm going to pick up another Louise Erdrich book right away, because I think I want to reread the sentence again, because it is a book that's full of plot, a lot of plot, and a lot of things to go through. But I see she's a brilliant writer, and I might be able to get along with her writing. So until we meet again, please subscribe to my channel. I'm so close, like 90 more people, and I get 1,000 subscribers. So please, if you like my content, please subscribe and like and comment and hit the notification bell. And I will see you on my trip or when I come back. So as Elizabeth says, à la prochaine and aloha.